Welcome, students. With your exams just around the corner, let's do a quick and focused revision of a very important chapter: gender, religion, and caste. We're going to explore how social differences can sometimes become social divisions and how a democracy like ours handles these challenges. So let's begin with the most important question this chapter asks, the one that sets the stage for our entire discussion. At what point does a simple social difference, the fact that we are all different, transform into a deep social division? What's that tipping point? This is the central idea we'll be unpacking today. And it is so crucial to remember this distinction. You see, on one side, we have social diversity. This is actually healthy for a democracy. We all belong to different social groups and have overlapping identities. But this turns into a social division when it becomes harmful, when it leads to conflict and inequality because one identity becomes supreme over all others. Okay, let's dive into our first theme, gender. Here, we are going to understand how a difference based on gender becomes a very real form of social division and inequality in our society. Now, what's really important to understand is that these divisions are not biological. They are based on social expectations and stereotypes, just like the ones you see here. Society creates these ideas of an ideal woman, which often end up limiting her roles and opportunities. This way of thinking leads to something we call the sexual division of labor. It's a system where all the work inside the home, like cooking and taking care of children, is seen as a woman's responsibility, while work outside the home is for men. The result? The huge amount of unpaid household work that women do is often not valued at all. So what is the root cause of this inequality? Well, it's a social system called patriarchy. Please remember this definition. It's a system that values men more and gives them power over women. And we have to acknowledge that India is still, by and large, a patriarchal society. This patriarchal mindset leads to very real discrimination against women in India. Just look at the facts. The literacy rate for women is only 54%, compared to 76% for men. Women are often paid less for the same work. And this mindset also leads to terrible things like sex-selective abortion and widespread violence against women. A direct and really alarming consequence of this is the decline in our child sex ratio. This number, 919, tells us that back in 2011, for every 1,000 boys, there were only 919 girls. This is a very serious issue. Now, what's really interesting is to see how this inequality shows up in politics. If you look at this chart, India's representation of women in our national parliament is far, far below the world average. Even the updated figure of 14.36% is nothing to be proud of when you compare it with other countries. So what's one major step that has been taken to fix this? Political representation. We now have a law that reserves 1/3 of all seats in our local government bodies, the panchayats and municipalities, for women. This has empowered over 10 lakh women representatives at the grassroots level. All right, let's move to our next theme. From gender, we now look at religion and how it plays a role in politics. This is a very important section. Now, Gandhiji believed that politics must be guided by ethics that are drawn from religion. But he didn't mean any one particular religion. For him, religion meant the moral values that are common to all religions. So in this sense, religion can be a positive force in politics. But the problem starts with something called communalism. This is a very, very important concept for your exams. Communalism is the ideology that believes religion is the main basis of a community, and this belief often leads to conflict between different religious groups. Now, please pay close attention here, students. The different forms of communalism is a very common 5-mark question area. It starts with simple prejudices, then moves to a quest for political dominance, then using religious symbols for votes, and in its worst form, it leads to terrible communal violence. So, what is our Constitution's answer to this challenge of communalism? It is the model of a secular state. A secular state is one that does not have an official religion and gives everyone the freedom to practice their own faith. These are the key constitutional rules that you must remember when you're asked about India being a secular state. First, there is no official religion. Second, we all have the freedom of religion. Third, there can be no discrimination based on religion. And fourth, the state can intervene to ensure equality within religious communities, for example, by banning untouchability. And now for our final theme, caste and politics. This is a social division that is very unique to India, and its relationship with politics has both positive and negative sides. Now, while the old caste system has weakened because of things like education and city life, caste has not disappeared. Its effects are still felt today. Most people still marry within their own caste, and very importantly, caste continues to be closely linked to a person's economic status. This slide brilliantly shows the two-way relationship. It's not just that politics gets affected by caste, it's also that caste gets politicized. On one hand, you have caste in politics, where parties choose candidates based on caste. But on the other hand, you have politics in caste, where disadvantaged castes use politics to demand their share of power and respect. In this cartoon, it perfectly shows the idea of caste in politics. See how the political leaders are treating different caste groups as if they are vote banks? It shows that communities are sometimes seen just as a block of votes, not as people. So what is the final outcome of all this? Well, the crucial point is that it has both positive and negative sides. The positive is that it has helped Dalits and OBC castes to gain better access to power. But the negative is that it can divert our attention from other big issues like poverty and corruption, and can sometimes lead to conflict. Okay, so we've looked at the three big examples of social divisions. So what is the final lesson from all this? What's the takeaway? Remember this. Democracy does not try to eliminate social divisions. Instead, it provides the best way to accommodate them. In a democracy, it is normal and can even be healthy for these divisions to be expressed in politics. It allows people who are at a disadvantage to voice their problems and demand solutions. And this is the final thought for you to reflect on. The outcome of all this depends on how our leaders raise the demands of a community. Is it done within the rules of our constitution, or is it done in a way that divides our society even more? That is the real question. Please revise all the key terms and all the very best for your exams.